Greetings and welcome to Facts You Might Not Know About Home Alone 2: Lost in New York. A sequel to Home Alone was a must. It was a massive hit. In fact, until 2018, The Grinch, Home Alone was the highest grossing Christmas movie of all time. Of course, sequels need to be taken to the next level. Thus, Home Alone 2: Lost in New York. Here are 20 facts you can watch and hear when you're home alone. Though maybe set them aside if a couple of bumbling bandits are around. The team behind the original reunited. Home Alone was written by the legendary John Hughes, who then gave the project to Chris Columbus to direct as a favor after Columbus left National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation due to the presence of Chevy Chase. Since it was such a success, Hughes was back to write the sequel, and Columbus returned as the director. Hughes had just scored a big deal in Hollywood. Hughes was already a success off the strength of 80s film like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and The Breakfast Club. Home Alone kept its success in Hollywood going. Early in 1991, Hughes signed a 6-movie deal with 20th Century Fox off the strength of Home Alone. Naturally, a sequel was part of the deal. Almost everybody returns. The McAllisters are a large family, but they managed to get basically everybody back for the sequel. Of course, they had to make sure the likers like John Hurd and Catherine O'Hara were back, but almost every child actor returned as well. In fact, only one member of the McAllister clan, Kevin's older sister, Lainey, was played by a different actor. Macaulay Culkin got a massive pay raise. A sequel was not going to happen without Culkin returning as Kevin. Home Alone had made him a star, and a pay increase was in order. For the first film, Culkin received $110,000. For the sequel, he got $4.5 million plus 5% of the film's gross. The Pigeon Lady has quite the resume. It may be a small role and you may not recognize her, but the actress who plays the Pigeon Lady has quite the career. Brenda Fricker was named the 26th greatest Irish actor ever by the Irish Times in 2020, and she also won Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars for My Left Foot. The Plaza crew aren't named in the credits. You likely recognize Tim Curry, Rob Schneider, and Dana Ivey as the people working at the Plaza Hotel. In the credits, they are only listed as concierge, bellman, and desk clerk, respectively. However, within the movie, you can find out their names are Mr. Hector, Cedric, and Hester Stone. The game show has some real bona fides. Celebrity Ding Dang Dong is not a real show, but the cast of the fake game show features some real game show personalities. like Bob Eubanks plays the host, and he also hosted shows like The Newlywed Game. The celebrities are Rip Taylor, J.P. Morgan, and Jamie Walker, all people who showed up on game shows in the 70s and 80s. In fact, Morgan was a regular on The Gong Show. Okay, about that cameo. No, we aren't talking about Ali Sheedy as the ticket agent. Yes, Donald Trump is on Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. At the time, he was mostly known as a famous New Yorker who loved to pop up in pop culture whenever he could. He also owned the Plaza Hotel, where Columbus planned to shoot. Trump allowed them to shoot in the lobby in exchange for a fee and a cameo. Columbus has said that Trump basically bullied his way into the movie. Some people have talked about removing Trump. Columbus, having gotten his screenshot, originally had hoped to cut Trump's cameo off the movie. Then, during the test screening, audience cheered when he showed up, which saved his appearance. However, someday maybe that will change. There was a somewhat jokery petition asking for Trump to be digitally replaced by the current day Culkin in the film. It got a little traction when Culkin himself endorsed the petition. Columbus shot in Hughes' usual haunt. A lot of the film is shot in New York, naturally, but Hughes also loved to shoot movies in Winnetka, a suburb of Chicago. It's where the McAllister house was, but it also the city where Hughes short films like Ferris Bueller, 16 Candles, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles are made. A lot of money was spent unnecessarily thanks to the weather. When you make a Christmas movie, you tend to want some snow. The whole winter wonderland look is key to Christmas films. As such, for the first, they had spent a ton of money on fake snow they could use in New York. Then, before they filmed using any of it, a blizzard hit the city. That meant plenty of real snow and basically no need for fake snow. Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern got up close and personal with some birds. In order for the sticky bandits to be attacked by all those pigeons, Pesci and Stern had to put up with some unpleasantness. Real pigeons were used for that scene. The actors were covered in bird seeds, and roughly 300 birds were let loose. Stern has said that one bird flew into his mouth. Kevin spent a lot of money on junk food. Kevin apparently has a sweet tooth. While we're sure that room service at the plaza is pricey, it's impressive how he got to $967 worth. That's especially since it's all came from dessert. Among the items listed are 2 chocolate cakes, 6 custard flans, 36 chocolate-covered strawberries, and an entire pastry cart. We could have learned the pigeon lady's name in a different version of the script. As with basically every movie, Home Alone 2 went through a few drafts and alterations. In one of the production's drafts, there is a scene at the end of the movie where a police officer talks to the pigeon lady. They call her Annie and invite her to come down to the station for hot chocolate. Eventually, that scene was cut, and that's real name of pigeon lady remain unknown. The toy store isn't real. Duncan's Toy Chest is not a real store, but it has a real-life inspiration. It's based on the massive F.A.O. Schwarz toy store in Manhattan. You may know it as the toy store that Tom Hanks goes to in Big. While it wasn't a real store, all of the kids in the toy store screenshot there were allowed to keep one toy as a memento. There have been 4 separate soundtracks released. In 1992, 2 different soundtracks were released. One consisted of John Williams' score, while the other contained the Christmas music included in Home Alone 2. Then that second soundtrack was discontinued and replaced with Home Alone Christmas, which came out in 1997 with a twerking track listening. That's not all. In 2002, a deluxe edition of the soundtrack was released for the 10-year anniversary. The 2 discs released features 100 minutes of Williams' score and other music cues, including some that weren't included in the actual movie. There's a video game tie-in. To capitalize on the properties of the first movie and the excitement for the second, a Home Alone 2 video game was released. It came out at an interesting time when games were still being released for Nintendo and Super Nintendo. They also released it for Game Boy and Sega Genesis. Kevin used a dart gun and powers up with pizza and candy canes. Unsurprisingly, it was considered a bad game and a cheap money grab. There was also a board game based on Mousetrap. A different tie-in was more successful. Every kid in 1992 was enthusiastic by the Talk Boy when they see Kevin with it in the movie. However, this was not a pre-existing toy. Hughes had dreamed it up for the purpose of the movie, and then Tiger Electronics made it for him. They also released it as a tie-in to the movie, and many of those kids claiming for a Talk Boy were able to actually get it. It started hot but slowed down. Home Alone 2 opened to a box office of $31.1 million, which was a new November record. It also made $100 million in 24 days compared to 33 days for the original Home Alone. However, the sequel did not have the legs of the original. Lost in New York did make a hearty $359 million worldwide, but Home Alone made $476 million. The sequel ended up being a total reboot. Originally, they had plans to make Home Alone 2 and Home Alone 3 at the same time. That didn't happen though, and that changed things. When the idea of the third movie was first about, the thought was to have a teenage Kevin played by Culkin By then, though, Culkin had retired from acting. Thus, Home Alone 3 became a movie about an 8-year-old named Alex. The villains are international spies. It didn't really pan out, though. So there you go, guys. Facts you might not know about Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing for more videos like this. And I'll see you around the broom somewhere.